Hey everyone, it's episode 490 of This Is Whole Life. And somewhere, wrong page. Here we go. You guys are killing it. Last 28 days, we have seen almost 3,000 extra downloads across both podcasts, which means that for This Is Whole Life, that's about 190% increase for a 28-day period over the last 6 months, and a whopping 394% for Speaking of grace, it was 973 over the last 28 days. I think that's an actual record. I've never seen them go that high. And I give all the credit to Dr. Bockmann, who is to my left, Ken to my right, and Lucas is downstairs looking at a cool sign outside the church because Barn Party is
Barn Party cometh.
Barn Party cometh in 10 days if you're listening to this on Wednesday. And if not, you're going to have to do the math because I don't know when you're listening, so
could be minus days.
Barn party's over. Check.
It's all right.
Next
There's always another, God willing, another barn party coming up. So.
There's always
it's like Christmas. It's coming around.
There's always next year, right, Cub fans? Milwaukee Brewer fans. We're not going to talk about you. To this man, I'm telling you. Anyway, so also I have a feeling that more people this week. I want to say hello to Aaron and Cecilia, new to the Select channel. And, man, there's some good conversations happening there that we're not going to get to here because you can just go there and check them out for yourself. And if the link, I don't know why. Some people, the link works. That's in the show notes. For some people, it does not. And I've typed as many Google requests as I can think of as to how to ask the question as to why it works for some, not for another. And if it doesn't work for you, just send an email to podcast@wholelife.church with the email you'd like to subscribe with, and I will make sure that you have access. Aaron on last Saturday was quick on the draw and said, love the sermon series. And today's sermon, especially, I love the nerding out the topics that are so fascinating.
Yes.
I bet Melanie would be an awesome book author.
I think she is, isn't she?
What? Sorry, I tried to hold that good. I think her word building ability is amazing, and there's a super cool emoji with the stars in the eyes. Here's a book recommendation for Melanie and anyone else interested. She may have already read it, though. Where God and I Meet by Martin Prostel?
I have not read that.
There's a picture of the, you can go to our Slack channel. It's in the show notes.
On the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
So I was just like, well, there's another book recommendation, and maybe I'll put my book. I think I recommended at least one or two, so I will put those in there too as
Didn't
well.
it have something to do with a shepherd?
I don't remember. I'll have to go back and think about this because, when you just have so many, it's hard to remember what it was that you did. Aaron also had a comment just about the last week's podcast about the different versions, for example, of the Noah's Flood, Garden of Eden narratives. And she said, I found it fascinating during the sermon because I never noticed two different flood accounts. I Googled it and said there are different versions in the Bible, the same narrative, and this was due to different views at different times, authors. I found this was interesting and wonder if you came across this in your research and if it is accurate because Google, wink emoji, and if this is what you were referring to early in the podcast when Ken asked you that question. So it was the different versions of the Noah story or the Moses story, as it were.
Well, actually, the first time I was introduced to it was when I was talking with a friend of mine who is a philologist, who's basically an ancient language expert.
Oh, thank you. Because I was like, a what?
And
philologist? Philologist.
Phlebotomist. No, not the same thing.
Not the same
okay.
thing. Anyway, she was talking to me and she said, she was asking me, which came first, was this created first? Was this created first? And I said, well, of course it was this. And she said, well, maybe you need to read Genesis 2 again. And I said, okay. What? So then I actually looked at it and I thought, oh, these are different. Things happen in a different order. So I thought that was really interesting. So then I went and did, some research on, okay, why would this be? And that's where I had already been studying it's called redaction criticism, where, different editing has taken place, where stories were added or that kind of thing. So that's where I heard about it at first, and then I went and checked it out and looked at
redaction criticism.
Yes.
Meaning, so that for things that have not made it.
No, so we think of redaction as like, somebody takes a black marker and like cut things out of government documents or something like that. So, but for redaction in this context, basically is more like editing. So the adding of an additional details or an additional Noah's Ark story would have been an example of redaction. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, you're in good company. I think there were a lot of people that didn't know or did not. I think if you've read the Bible, you would know, but you just didn't realize, or you didn't realize you'd read it twice.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because the second story feels more like a summary. So I think mentally you just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, they're just recapping.
That's true.
But unless you're paying attention to the details, it's not really obvious.
That's true, because you would kind of think of the first one. And then with the summary, you just like, oh, well, that's just recapping what we've already talked about. Right. But that should almost be like, what was the reasoning for the recap anyway? Like, that seems like that would throw a flag, but maybe not.
I don't know.
There was plenty of people I talked to afterwards. Like, did you know? I'm like, I had zero clue, zero clue. And in this week, I didn't know the Bible had this much to say about dirt. Yes. Or the earth, because when I was downloading your message, I was like, wow, this is 37 minutes. Well, that's like 36 minutes. And I was just like, wow, she had a lot. I mean, could there be this much to talk about dirt?
Look at the glow on Ken's face right now.
I listened to second service. I was so caught up in the sermon that I forgot to time it. So, Randy, I want to thank you so much. Oh, man. For making sure that I was aware of how long. It's hard, though, when you have a really good topic and lots of information. It's very hard to go ahead and, 25 minutes is a very short period of time.
Yeah, Ken is going to get so much mileage out of this. I'm not going to be able to say a single solitary word when he goes over for the next 6 months.
Well, but it won't stop you, so.
It will not.
It's like 11 and a half pages. And I was like, because I looked at the time and I'm like, man, if I'm going to get through all this, I think I'm going to have to read it and maybe make some notes on the page rather than listening to it and then trying to go back like I usually do, because that takes a little bit more time.
You want to go back and listen to it. It was... No. This was like... the whole series was good, but this was my favorite sermon out of the series.
Whoa. Huh. High praise for the third. Yeah?
It was good.
Well, you had me at Dracula. And I was like, could we do a side story on Dracula?
Although if you're trying to save time, and you have to kind of think about the places that are extraneous when I'm just that you
maybe Dracula would have been.
You could have probably saved 2 minutes right there.
All I'm saying is.
These are conversations that I may or may not have had about my sermons at times. So
all I'm saying is the fact that there were more than one and less than a disclosed number of people that thought maybe we were talking about Dracula this week, or that we should be. Whole Life Church family, I love you. Because I was like, right from the get-go, I'm like, this makes me happy. Okay, like this makes me happy. And as you started to talk about like how we think about the word dirt, and whether you immediately go, oh, she's talking about the earth or not. But all the things like whether you're dirt poor or filthy rich, I'm like, oh, that's a double. You can't get away with it no matter what side of that coin you're on. Someone can tell you to eat dirt, pound dirt. I got dirt on you, dirt bag. I'm like, this is a great message. I think I might have to agree with Ken that this one starts out as number one in the series, because you can't put all of that in and not. But then immediately I'm thinking, where are we going? We're not sticking with Dracula. We're not, I'm pretty sure we're not going to start calling people names here.
Oh, good. My plan worked. At some point, I want people to say, where are we going?
And then you're like, in scripture. And I'm like, okay, now let's see where this goes. Dirt is what Jesus uses to open blind eyes, where he writes words that emancipate the woman caught in adultery, where Jesus invites 5,000 people to sit so he can feed them. Stories of seeds is where his stories of seeds and kingdoms begin. And then have you ever considered the fact that God has had a longer relationship with the earth than with humans? What if God just needed a project manager? And I'm like, this makes so many things about my wife just come into focus. Someone who...
Okay, now I'm asking, where is he going with this?
Well, because I think that as soon as you said that, it's like, no, I hadn't considered that specifically, but obviously, Earth was here without form, blah, 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 creation story. But if there's one person in the world who wishes shoes had never been invented, it's my wife.
Okay.
So the garden, if you go out in the garden, take off those shoes, get the bare feet in the dirt, get a little grounding happening, connect yourself, all that good stuff, and just let your toes. You also said mud pies, and I'm going to tell on my mother. I really hope... Geez, Mom, I hope you're listening. When they were between ones, they would go over to a neighbor's farm on a Sabbath afternoon, take off their shoes.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Those are not mud pies.
Warm. The warmer, the better.
Those are cow pies.
Yes, and that was their...
That's a different thing.
Yeah, no. So, that was one of the... I'm like, what kind of a life have you lived up to that point where it's like, oh, warm cow pies. Feel so good squishing up between my toes.
Oh.
And I'm just like, well, and she's like, well, I was like, well, how did... Like, that? No. And my grandma every time would just be like... Oh, she'd just like roll her eyes like, I can only imagine the cleanup. Ugh. So how do you get everybody home after they've been stomping in cow pies? Do you I don't know.
Put the seatbelt on creatively and hang your feet out the window. That's all
There were 5 of them, though.
Oh, okay.
So, of course, this was back before seatbelts and,
This is Wisconsin?
Wisconsin,
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess.
Actually, I mentioned mud pies for a reason because, last week when I said somebody came and asked me about Dracula, Tito actually asked me if we were going to talk about mud pies. So that was a little Easter egg for Tito, but then Tito was gone, so it didn't matter.
I'm sure he listened to it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So when you moved past that and like Ellen F. Davis, this book sounds oddly appealing.
Yeah.
Scripture, culture, and agriculture.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting.
I can imagine. Is this still in print? Is this old book? Or, no?
Nope. It's on my desk, actually. Yeah. She's written a few books that I've really enjoyed. There was another one that she wrote on the children of Israel and the Psalms. That was also really interesting.
Huh. Yeah. And you talked about some words. The first verb was avid.
Avad.
Mm-hmm. And the other one was shamar. I thought that was interesting too, suggesting Eden was humanity's first temple and the earth itself was the place of divine presence to be kept holy and guarded. That's wild.
Yeah.
I guess we should have thought of Eve, or maybe we do think of it that way, Eden being perfect, but still being, caretaker. I don't know. Is what the word I've always used or I've heard used to describe what Adam and Eve, they were the caretakers of the garden.
Which, it's a related word to guardian.
Okay.
Caretaker, guardian,
that's true.
Kind of protector, preserver.
Yeah, guardians, protecting and preserving the sacred balance. That was the other. That's kind of weird, though, because I never really thought about, hey, hon, you going to go out and, hoe the onions today and pull the weeds from the green beans? Or... maybe it wasn't like that. Maybe there weren't weeds yet. Some weeds have to be from sin, don't they?
I would imagine.
Ken, are you an agriculturist?
No.
Shoot.
Except for the ones that have flowers. I don't see how those could possibly be.
Only the ugly weeds must be the sinful ones. The ones that kind of look pretty must not be.
So dandelions, good.
Good.
Oh, really? Man.
What would ragweed?
Oh, ragweed bad.
Yeah.
Whatever that stuff was I picked out of your puppy's fur, that was definitely from the devil.
Oh, there's those the hitchhikers?
Those little teeny tiny ones that just get buried in there.
Especially in fur. Forget about it.
Yep. And
you said the consequences weren't just for them, they were for everything after the fall. And the ground is cursed because of you. And when I was thinking about that, and you said in the Hebrew Bible, land is not inert. It's alive, it's responsive, and it's morally attuned to human behavior. There were so many things in this message, guys. Like, you have to actually listen to it in kind of the flow, because every time I wanted to stop and just think about land is not inert, it's live, responsive, it's more attuned to human behavior. And you're thinking of all the different things that humans do or have done, that the earth is attuned to human behavior.
Yeah.
I believe that wholeheartedly. I really do. And I think that it's something we just don't give a lot of time or thought to. Ground's under our feet.
Yep.
We use it to build levees, to keep out water. We make it do whatever we want it to do, whether for good or for bad. And that just seems weird to think about. We were the caretakers. We're manipulating, and what are we manipulating, and what can we think about this as you go about every day? And I'll just get ahead of myself, but clothing, 60% of clothing or pollution is clothing that's less than a year old or a year old. Is that what you said?
60% of clothing within the first year is either incinerated or ends up in a landfill.
Clothes, and it's like a worldwide thing, right?
Yeah. In fact, it kind of, because the U.S. In particular has such high consumption for clothing, and then we send our clothing that we're done with to developing countries, and so that we end up polluting the developing country because they get more than they can actually handle, and it ends up in their environment.
That's wild that our excess is more than like the rest of the world needs.
Right? Yeah.
If you stop and think about it in that way.
Yeah.
That's kind of sobering.
Well, you didn't even get into who manufactures the clothing aspect of things. And we kind of had an opportunity to see that firsthand when we were living on Guam, because right across from Guam was Saipan. And Saipan at that point was a major manufacturer of name brand clothing. And they had sweatshops there where they brought in they brought people in to work for pennies. Just like maybe my grandpa used to work at what's the old saying, in coal country, where you sold your soul to the company store, because basically you would work and then you would have to buy your food from the company store that charged more money than it costs for you to work. So you basically had to keep working to try to pay your tab. Yep. It's where that song, there's a song that talks about this anyway. But that's kind of what would happen at these sweatshops, is that they would be charged for the food that they were eating there in their dormitory stay, and by the time it was done, they were basically paying to work, and they were working. I don't want to say anything that's wrong, but it was way more than 8 hours a day. We would, when we visited Saipan, we went past them. They were gated, they were fenced. People were not allowed to come and go. And I think a lot of times we don't realize that it's not that a lot of the clothing that we have is not coming from some sort of benign person being paid minimum wage here in the United States, but it's somebody. And I know that one of the arguments is, well, they're getting paid more than they, in their country, it's more. Well, not always the case. Often it's actually they're barely subsisting, or they are in almost complete servitude to a company that is just basically using them for their labor and then charging them to survive.
And the working conditions too, because like you said, there have been many accounts where the doors were actually locked, and then there was a fire in the factory, and people can't even escape. So, and the ages of the people working, because here we mostly have laws about who can work and for how long, but in other places,
for me, when I saw, I'd heard that, and I think I'd always kind of just dismissed it as like, oh, that's just some propaganda being put out there by people who have no joy in their life and are trying to make me feel bad for being able to get an affordable piece of clothing at wherever I go shopping. A lot of this stuff would wind up being available on Guam because the leftovers overflow, and so you'd have these name brand stuff. So this was not, this was not even the cheap clothing. This was like high end, not even seconds, expensive. Yeah. And so I don't know, I guess the where I just wanted to run with it was that we think about what our consumption does to the earth and what it does to people. And I think I don't think that you have to, I don't think your politics necessarily matters in this. I think it's also just a simple matter of just caring about humanity, caring about your, the world around you. And that's what I loved about your sermon so much, is that it really focused in on God's love for one of the basic elements of our world that impacts all of us far more than we really stop to think about. The fact is that we're made out of that stuff, and we return to that stuff. And so I love that. But I think that we do. I think we have to really think. And if I'm telling the truth, I haven't really figured out in my life what to do about it. My wife will probably tell you that I hang on to clothes longer than she thinks I should. Some of them. But then there's other, have way too many T-shirts in my closet.
I don't think that's possible.
Oh man, you come to my house. I have my T-shirts from back in high school.
Yeah,
in fact, it was kind of
to do.
Now, see, I feel good about that because they sure aren't. I gave them to my kids when they went to the same schools that I had, and it's like, here's your retro day, vintage clothing.
Come on,
that's kind of cool.
That's a dad win right there.
That's a big win.
That's a big one. Well, the part that also made me think about it was when we were talking about the clothes. I'm like, I just donated like 2 black garbage bags of clothes I haven't worn in probably 25 years. And so now all my clothes can hang in about, I don't know, maybe 2 feet and
18 inches.
Yeah.
Pretty close. It's not a ton. Of course, I'm pretty basic and I wear black every day pretty much. And that's the same things, I wash once a week.
Randy, you have impeccable style. And what I love about it the most is it has Whole Life's logo on it. That's just honestly what everything in life comes down for me. Is it?
Yeah.
Does it have the logo of who you work for on it? That's what really matters in life.
No, it's seriously, if I don't do...
that means he also works part-time for Harley Davidson.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing wrong with that.
If I don't do laundry once a week, I don't have any clothes. Let's just go there. Or at least any clothes that I wear on a regular basis.
Well, and I think we should be clear that also, recycling your clothing, giving your clothing to other people is a good idea. People can use it. I think what the problem is when we buy fast fashion that is extremely cheaply made, it's not gonna live past a couple of wearings, and then what do you do with it? And then you just dump it. And I also recognize the fact that some of us are on budgets. We can't go buy the most expensive thing on the planet. Yeah. So I think just being aware of your own consumption and how that impacts the earth, just even an awareness can help with that.
Well, you said maybe the earth is communicating, but we just can't hear it. And I immediately love you a whole lot more as a friend.
Oh, thanks.
Because you have conversations with the lizards.
I do.
And I usually yell at the birds. So I feel like it's a conversation a little one-sided. I'm really not a bird fan. But I kind of felt like we had a connection there. Like, oh, Melanie goes outside to at least talk to them. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe I should be a little nicer and I shouldn't yell at the birds. But
and I talk to my gopher tortoises.
The gopher tortoises. We talk to them. They're nice. Yeah. And you better not yell at them or move them or pick them up because you will be going to some place that you're going to have to pay to get out of. It's a big fine for gopher tortoises.
Definitely not.
If you didn't know, and if you don't know if it's gopher tortoise,
just assume it is.
Just assume it and just leave them alone. You'll be happier that you did. And then the one that I was waiting for, and you nailed it. Well, of course, it had to make it. Was, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me. Mm-hmm. There's so many good places in this. Like, which one do you want to pick of all the things in the Bible that, God is just telling us, and maybe you just kind of go over those. Oh, that's the story. Well, blood cries out. Well, yeah, I'm God. I know everything. So the blood cries out. But maybe it really is, like you said, I used to think this was simple personification that the Bible just poetically gives the earth human characteristics. But no, not so sure, because there's a lot of instances where that doesn't seem to be the case, where that's just not, oh, well, that's pretty. Mm-hmm. It's a really nice, aw.
Well, have you ever been in a place where something horrible happened and it just feels different? Mm-hmm. And I know you can maybe make the argument it's just something that's going on in your brain telling you that the place is not good. But I have been in places, I remember being in one place that I lived and just always feeling off in that particular place, and talked to a friend later and just said, oh, this place always just feels so, and they're like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z happened there. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, and I did not know that ahead of time, but there was just a feeling in that place that just wasn't right. In the same way, I remember when I started working as the summer camp director at Indian Creek Camp, and I remember just feeling like it was holy ground. It was like there was something special about that place, that it just felt like when I went there, there was peace, there was a sense of God's presence. And that's a lot to say, being a summer camp director for 5 summers there with all kinds of crazy things happening there. But for me, every time I walk onto Indian Creek Camp's grounds, it feels like sacred ground. It feels like a sacred place. And I think probably everybody listening can think of those places in their minds that ground is sacred, or you feel the curse of it, of that something not good happened there, or that there's something, and there is, to me, there's just something to that.
Yeah, well, and in the Old Testament, they, if something terrible happened, if a murder happened, for example, on a piece of ground, they would offer a sacrifice on behalf of that ground, which I think is really interesting, because, you have people who are like, well, Jesus didn't die for dirt. And I'm like, well, if those offerings actually represented Jesus, then maybe so. And also, what are you made of? And did Jesus die for you? I don't.
Yeah.
There's also that.
Well, and speaking of those places, I know my parents, this trip they probably took 15 years ago. They made Auschwitz one of the stops in their European stop on vacation. We have family from Estonia and Germany and Russia and France, and so they made it one of those. And my mom was just like, you can't ever walk through there and not feel like, just like you said, it just something bad has really bad. And Melanie, you brought up the museum in Montgomery, Alabama. Do you remember the name?
I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's easily Googleable.
Okay. I just wanted to see that, because I'd never heard of that before, but what a neat way, without cheapening, obviously, what happened at these sites where people were lynched. But what a neat way to kind of categorize, or not catalog,
memorialize.
Yeah, memorialize in all these different places, and realize how widespread and these atrocities were. And it left me with wanting to know a lot more about it. So, well, I'll look it up and we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, they have a website.
So, do they? Okay. And we'll put that also in the Slack. So make sure that you join us there if you want that information. It's going to burn anyway. I've heard that a lot. It's going to burn anyway, right? So, and also I've heard that, God didn't blink twice without the fighting of Noah. Right? Well, and he just wiped everything out, so he can't be that concerned about it, and it's all just going to burn anyway. So, flick that out the window, dump your, cruise line, dump your sludge in the ocean.
There's so much that did not make it into this sermon.
I'll bet.
So much. But one of the things, if you look at the Greek words, especially I think in 1 Peter, where it talks about, the earth being burned up and the elements melting, there are nuances there as well. It's more about purification than destruction.
Okay.
So if you think about the way that, silver, and you melt it down and get rid of the dross, it's the connotation is more along those lines than on the lines of just completely destroying everything and starting from scratch, which I think is why God says, look, I'm making everything new, not making all new things. It's a purification.
Ooh. Well, that gives you a different way to think about that then.
Right.
And a different outlook of what could be versus maybe how people have thought about it in the past.
I think you have to also, part of that question, right, is what is it being purified from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and is it being purified from some of the things that we've done to it?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, it would have to be, right? Well, I think the other part that we don't have time to go into it because we're running out of time, but
the sermon was 37 minutes long.
I already just mentioned it. I wasn't going to go again, Melanie. I was just going to leave it be. But guys, listen, you got to hit the sermon. And then is there a resource? Because I thought it was really, really interesting. And it didn't ring a bell anyway. The Kidron Valley. And the things that, meaning it's a turbid, dark, murky, gloomy place, the shadow of, quite literally the shadow of death. Mm-hmm. And yet Jesus, was it in Mark that brings out?
John.
Oh, in John. That's right. It was in John that brings out that while he's outside with the disciples, Mount Olives, Garden of Gethsemane is one of his favorite places to go, which is, if you stop and think about that, even though we typically take that story and it's very dark and it's because we know what's going to happen and he's in a terrible place for himself personally, going like, man, this is all right on the plate. It's coming at me. And man, if there was another way to do this, but it's still the place he goes out in nature. What a beautiful idea that is, that I'm going to go pray. I'm going to go spend time with the Creator or my Father. And oh, by the way, I may as well do it in creation too. Mm-hmm. Like that's a really cool way that I just hadn't necessarily thought about it in those terms. But like there's so much going on that this Kidron Valley, it really gives you a different idea of Jesus and where he's choosing to walk. What message is he trying to send and to tell us?
Oh, there's so much richness to that. And so so when I just did like a basic search in the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, for Kidron Valley, and I started seeing what was popping up, that's when I started recognizing this pattern of, wow, talk about cursed ground. This is really a place of desolation and death and idolatry. And somebody came up and asked me after this service, which I thought was a great question, was because I had mentioned it was a valley of the shadow of death, and they said, was it the valley of the shadow of death? Which, of course, we have no way of knowing. But another interesting thing about the Kidron Valley is that when King David's son Absalom rebelled against him and tried to usurp his kingdom, and David fled Jerusalem, he fled through the Kidron Valley. So that's another interesting connection that just we did not have time.
Well, we don't have time, but I want to do this because I really liked what you said here about Jesus walking through that valley. You said, imagine if the presence of God flickering in the burning bush, the veil between seen and unseen trembling in the shimmer, that holy ambiguity of flame and voice could turn the ground beneath Moses' feet into holy ground, then how much more could the actual footprints of God with skin on turn the valley of death and the dust of ashes of idols, cursed dirt, into holy ground? Woo!
Isn't that like that? When I was thinking about that, and that it made me feel in awe of that possibility.
Yeah, you said
like if one thing is there and it causes this result, what about this other?
And it's funny because when Heather and I used to do prayer rooms all over the place, but a lot here in Orlando for Advent Health, and one of the things that in the hospital, not that hospitals are known to have a lot of bugs and a lot of germs, right? It's where people are sick are there. And as much as the crew does an amazing job of coming behind everything and trying to keep it clean, early on, Heather made this, I think it was 11 by 17, and we used to ask people to take their shoes off. And that with a picture of the burning bush and the text where God talks to Moses and that you were on holy ground. And it was amazing how many people would honor that request, dress shoes,
sure.
Whatever. And how many people would, when someone would leave a comment in one of the comment cards, or a lot of times when we were setting up or tearing down, and people would kind of stand and read it, and people would come up and say how much that meant to them, that they thought that there was actually a blessing, which we would always pray a blessing over it. I know the chaplains used to come. A lot of times they would do the water and the blessing of the hands, like if it was a week of spiritual renewal or on campus, and how much that meant to people. And so I think the connection, and then when you put that here, and then with the whole Kidron Valley, that was just crazy. And you say creation is not in perfect harmony like it once was, but God's fingerprints are still there. And even if there were only one leaf left, there would still be a reflection on the invisible qualities of God. If there was only one road and one Harley left and it was yours, that's it, right? Get out in nature. That
was a great segue.
Wasn't
into
it?
Motorcycle. Yeah,
that's the best.
Nicely done.
Thank you. I knew you'd appreciate that. And then speaking of COVID, when the world paused, those were amazing pictures. And like you mentioned, I know you mentioned Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And the one that I thought was maybe the most crazy, even with a fire burning in the foreground of trash in India, because so much of our trash ends up in their backyard, and then they have nowhere to go with it. They can't. Where are you going to bury it in India, right? And so they burn it in like huge open pit and open pile fires. So here's this giant pile of trash with its little bit of smoke, and then there's another pile in the distance. You can see these plumes go up, but you can see forever in this shot, when normally it's just smog, because there's so much fire, there's so much pollution from autos and everything, right? Just everything. And it was one of the pictures that I can remember seeing, the one of LA. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I remember that. And then we were sitting, I remember we were sitting in our living room, and we got outside as much as we could during COVID a lot. Rode the Harley a lot, just tried to be outside, get some vitamin D. And looking at those pictures going like, the earth is getting a break globally from this. So something good is coming out of this, right? And maybe it was a little bit of the push to maybe we ought to be a little more responsible about what we do, how we do it, how much we do it. Well,
I think it was a good indicator of how much we actually do impact our environment, because sometimes it's hard. You think, well, what does my one little vehicle have to do with this?
Yeah.
But our collective engagement with the environment makes a difference, whether it's for negative reasons or for positive reasons. I think collective movement can go both ways.
Yeah. Well, I like how you said, maybe we could start by going outside, taking off our shoes and feeling the dirt between our toes, planting seeds, making mud pies, stepping in cow pies, listening to the rhythms of creation. And I couldn't agree more, honestly. And guys, there was so much. And Melanie, again, every message we keep saying, great message. But if you missed this one or any of the three, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to go back. And I already know these numbers on your messages have been up along with all of the extra downloads. So whoever found us, I guess found us and you at the same time.
Thanks, Mom.
Rod, what are you doing? How many people are you telling? I can just see your dad out there handing like tickets with a little thing for the podcast.
Listen to my daughter.
Yeah, listen to my daughter.
Thanks, Dad.
Come on, Rod. You do it. But as we wrap it up, don't miss it, because as much as we all have the things that, we have to do, people need clothes. You need clothes for specific things if you're a professional versus, there's all those things, how we compost stuff. try to limit your trash? Are you allowed to burn where you live? I'm not saying anything yes or no, maybe, but it could happen. Anyhow, before we get going, Melanie, thank you. Again, I agree with Ken. I think this was the best message because this didn't leave a lot there's still a lot to consider. The Kidron Valley, there's so much beauty of things to think about. But at the end of the day, you said, how can we keep the earth the way that we keep the Sabbath? And that might just be a fun way, something for you to talk about with family, friends, others that might just make a difference in how you make that, like you said, that one little piece. What do I do individually? What do we do as a family? What do we do as a whole life church family? And that's something cool to think about together and maybe ways we can make a difference. All right, November 8th, guys, it is 10 days away. Again, 10 days away if you're listening on Wednesday. And if it's after that, there's always next year.
Speaking of going outside.
That's right. 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And may I say that the weather, the high for the day is right now is forecast at 77, 78 degrees as a high.
Delicious.
That's what I'm saying. And only 10% chance of rain, which we always seem to get a little sprinkle before or during. Volunteers, we need you. We need you to show up and be a part of all the activities and the events, the rides, the different things that we do. And we need your chili. If you follow
lots and lots of chili.
We have to
feed.
I'm saying if we don't feed 5,000 people this year, we're not feeding 400. That's all I'm saying. We've never gone bigger with promoting the event. And so last year, if you think we had...
this year is especially we've upped the ante, right?
It's all new.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. And we really, right now, Lucas is downstairs while they are installing a giant banner outside to try to help attract our neighbors to come and hang out with us that evening from 4 to 9 p.m.
Chili and cookies.
Chili, cookies. There's contests for both of those. We need the chili to feed the masses. And
we need vegetarian chili. We need meat chili. We need
if you know how to make
chili.
That one.
Yes.
If you know how to make gluten-free chili taste good with the good gluten-free noodles, or you make your own, whatever, please, because there's a lot of us here that are gluten-free or at least gluten intolerant, gluten sensitive, things of those natures, and it's always nice. I know my family.
Are you that way, Randy?
I'm not, but two in my family are, so it's always if we don't have anything else to eat, they'll eat it and they'll go, why did we eat that? We should have just skipped. So, it's just nice when your family is able to go and go, oh, they got gluten-free.
Got that.
So make some of that too. There's stuff for everybody this year. And for our special needs families, please come. I know big events and loud noises and all of that takes a toll on our kiddos, mine being right there in the front. But this year we have a special VIP program. Kind of like last year and in years prior, but the sensory room this year is inside the building, so it's more protected from the outside noise. Where a true 10-minute break that they need to recharge could probably be a good solid 10-minute break and not like a half an hour of a. Well, we survived for a little bit, but do that. So please tell your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, anybody. This is an event for everyone, and we got lots of new surprises this year. It's going to look different. It's going to feel different. And it's also going to feel partly the same because it's all the same fun people.
It's going to feel mostly the same with just some new fun twists on what we've done. I'm really excited because no more porta potties.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Now, somebody's like, that doesn't sound like good news, but we have come up with a solution that allows people to come inside, use our indoor bathrooms, and we have a cleaning crew that will be cleaning those bathrooms. And when we're asking for volunteers,
you know what that means.
If you like cleaning bathrooms,
or even if you don't,
let us know.
For an hour.
But if that's not your thing, there's so many other things that you can do. Mm-hmm. So don't. Figure out. I've got a crew of people that are actually helping host inside, since we're going to have people inside the building and we need some hosts. And I've got a great crew of people that are helping me with that. We've got people who are helping out at all the individual events, all the different things. Should we tell them about the big new thing this year? Is that legal?
We haven't talked about it yet. We haven't talked about it on social. You'll see Albert very soon on social media as one of our Next updates for this year. I love Albert.
I cannot wait for this.
I love Albert. Albert's willing to do anything for the cause, and I just love Albert. But if you want to spill it, go for it.
Well, should I or should I not? You're our communication
I don't know.
director.
Have you checked with Freud? Because I kind of feel like maybe he should weigh in on this.
No, I think we should tell him. It's a podcast. We can tell him.
We tell people on the podcast.
We tell people all the time.
The benefit of paying attention to the podcast, right?
You're here first. You're going to hear it first.
Ask
go
for forgiveness, not for permission.
That's
Go
the
for
one.
it. Okay?
We have a Ferris wheel.
Yay!
I'm talking about a real,
Yep. Honest to goodness.
legit, honest to goodness.
No lies detected.
And we are and we ought to say a huge thank you to this is our first year that we have sponsors too.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
big.
And I don't want to leave anybody out, so I'll be careful right now. But
I will put a list of Lucas has a page with all the sponsors, which you're going to see when you get here, randomly placed throughout the event. But I will actually put our sponsors in the show notes, or excuse me, in the Slack this
and
week.
because we have sponsors this year, it made it possible for us to go a little bit bigger.
Yep.
So thanks a ton.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna get bigger and better every year. And this year, I'm super excited. There are boxes all over the studio, and a bunch of them just went downstairs. So if it's your first time, I think you're gonna. It's one of the easiest things to invite someone to. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're from out of town, this would be the weekend.
And they will thank
Fly
you.
into Orlando.
They will thank you too.
Yep.
They'll be like, "Oh, this was a good time." We have people every year that just show up that just see something happening. They're like, "Hey," and then they're
What's
like,
going on over there?
"I wish we'd known. We would have brought."
Yep.
So do that. Bring your friends. Bring your neighbors.
Yep.
Bring the neighbor that doesn't like you, because then they'll like you afterwards. They'll be like,
That's
"Wow, you're a good neighbor."
We've press released this. We're on Joy FM calendar. We're all over the place. The 88.3. We're on their hubs calendar.
Bring
so-
lots of chili.
So bring lots of
chili and cookies.
Cookies. Freud. Sometimes you're glad it's somebody else's event. Well, it's all our event, but Freud's got to manage everything. And him and Carla, if you see them, say, "Great job on Barn Party this year." They've done a ton of work. And
Freud, Carla, I feel like Karen has done a ton when it comes to permitting. You guys,
it's been busy.
everybody, I think truly this is one of those all hands on deck. Everybody really contributes.
And it's going to be fun, and it's going to be bigger than you remember. So come on down.
So fun.
So fun. All right, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Thanks for all the listens and the shares. Man, it makes my day when I log in and see all that. So continue to do what you're doing. We really, really appreciate it. So thanks for listening, and have a great week.